Okay, so we're going to do sections 5.4 and 5.5 today. So let's start with 5.4. I'm going to write it on my board and hopefully you can see it. So 5.4 tells us how to solve inequalities. And remember what an inequality is from last week. An inequality is less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. Those are our four inequalities. Okay, so when we're going to solve an inequality, this is example 1, we do the exact same things that we do to solve an equation. So if my inequality says something like x plus 5 is greater than 12, I want to figure out what x is. I'm going to solve this equation by doing it this inequality by doing it the same way I solve an equation. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. That leaves me with x here. Bring your inequality sign down just like you did your equal sign. 12 minus 5 is 7. So x needs to be bigger than 7. To check our inequalities, I'm going to pick a number that's bigger than 7, that would make this inequality true, and stick it back in and make sure my answer works. So I'm going to choose, let x be 8, and substitute it back into my original. So it said x plus 5 is bigger than 12. If x is 8, I do 8 plus 5 to see if that's bigger than 12. Well, 8 plus 5 is 13, so is that bigger than 12? Yes, it is, so it's true. So that means this is the correct answer. All right, so this one is the same process except it's a minus subtraction, and we have the number and the variable switched on the sides. We still do it the same way. We're going to draw our fence. We need to add the 1 and 1/3 to both sides because I want the b by itself. So 3 plus 1 whole is 4, and then I have an extra third. Bring your symbol down. It's the same inequality sign, less than or equal to. Okay. Now, if it wanted us to graph this on a number line, remember I told you your letter always goes on the left, so I would need to rewrite it. So it's b greater than or equal to 4 1/3. These two inequalities are exactly the same thing. You want the bigger side of the inequality eating the b, so it is here. It's just easier to graph if the variable is on the left. So then we draw our number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's 4 1/3, so about a third of the way between the 4 and the 5 is roughly here. Now it has a mustache. Remember our little sunglasses we had? It was closed circles with the mustache, so our sunglass face. Closed circle, follow your nose because your variable is on the left. The nose points this direction. You just graphed your inequality. All right, let's look at a basic division just to make sure we remember. So example 3, let's just do 7x less than 42. I want to find x, so I'm going to divide by 7. X is less than 6. Let's pick a number less than 6 and make sure it works up here. So to check, I'm going to let x equal 5. So I'm going to do 7 times 5. That should be less than 42. 7 times 5 is 35. Is 35 less than 42? Yes, it's a true statement. Okay, now let's look at what's going to happen if I have a negative 7 here instead of a positive 7. So we're going to do this as example 4. Negative 7x is less than 42. This time you're dividing by a negative instead of a positive number. So you have x here, and now you have a negative 6. If I leave my inequality sign the same, let's see what happens in my check. So let's check. Let's say I need a number that's smaller than negative 6. So number smaller than negative 6 would be negative 7. Okay? So I'm going to do negative 7 times negative 7. Should be less than 42, according to this inequality here. But I get 49 is less than 42. Is that correct? No. So there's a little rule you have to remember when multiplying or dividing by negatives. And I want you to make sure you write this down, star it, color code it in your notes so you realize it's important. If you multiply or divide by a negative, I want you to make that folded, negative number, you flip the inequality sign. Okay, so multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you flip the inequality. So up here, because I'm divided by a negative, I should change this so that it actually reads x has to be greater than -6. So now if I pick a number that's bigger than -6, let's see what happens. So a number bigger than -6 would be a -5. So let's do -7 times -5. Negative and a negative is positive. This would be a positive 35. Is positive 35 less than 42? Yes, it is. So that important rule you have to remember is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the inequality sign.